What are the biggest ripoffs that people should be warned of? Story 1. An interesting one that has been on TV a lot recently is penny auctions. Many of you have probably seen commercials for websites like Quibids recently. They advertise that you can bid for products and get them 95% off. The starting price is $0, and each bid only increases the sale price by a penny, so you have to get a good deal, right? What they don't tell you is that you have to purchase bids, so every click that raises the price by 1 cent costs you. Supposedly, there are bots that the company programs to start bidding wars, costing you bids, that the bot will often win, screwing you out of your bids and the product you are trying to win. Even if you win an auction and get a good price on a product, the cost of bidding to win the item more than covers the difference. Story 2. Cutco knives. I sold the damn things, and they're a scam. But the scam is mostly on the sellers. Here's the deal. First of all, they pretend to be high quality. They're not. They're middle quality. But in the knife world, you mostly only have low and high. Low is the crap you buy for $30 for a whole knife block that breaks easy and sucks. High costs a lot more and is actually decent. Cutco compares themselves to cheap knives, then says that means they must be in the big leagues, but they're really not. But they price themselves higher than most big league knives while claiming the other good knives cost a lot more than they do. For example, the information I was given was that a Henkel's knife block, the good kind, not Henkel's International, was $1,500, while a Cutco knife block was $800 for the same thing. Then I went to the local mall and found that exact Henkel's block for $500. So while they're okay knives, they're massively overpriced. But here's the real scam. They use people with no experience as the salesman. They will actually kick out anybody who knows anything about sales. Then they tell you that you start on a low commission, about 10%, and that the commission will go up to as high as 50% when you get really good. So you think you'll make a ton of money. Meanwhile, they start you out selling to friends and family. It's not worth it now, but it will be when you get to the big commission. But the whole point here is that you'll only sell to your friends and family, and then burn out, never going above the 10% or maybe getting to the 15% commission. If on the off chance you stick with it, they make you a manager so you can't sell anymore. Because they don't make as much money off super high commissions. You simply cannot make the kind of money they claim. I figured out something was up in the first training session when I noticed that our manager was signing each of our paperwork sets with a different signature. It didn't take long to realize they wanted me to rip off friends and family and then quit. So joke's on them, I quit after selling only one knife. By the way, you can get them used online really easily. Story 3. Prepaid college savings plans, 529. These plans work by having you lock in and prepay future college attendance in today's dollars. The idea is that it will protect you from future price increases and you'll guarantee that your kids can get to college. I believe it's a ripoff. College education in the US is just the next bubble. Education costs are out of control, just like housing prices were out of control, and just like .com stocks were out of control, etc., etc., etc. If college prices are always going to exponentially grow like they are now, then these plans will ultimately fail, since the schools will be unable to meet their obligations. And then what happens to the money you put in? Another additional fear is that they are most likely taking this prepaid money and investing it to grow it. What happens if they do a bad job on the investments? On the other side, what if the bubble pops and you're locked in at some ridiculous price? Oops. It would seem to me that your best option is to save your money yourself and invest it safely. Story 4. Leasing cars. Total ripoff. Essentially, what you're doing is paying for the depreciation cost of the car, which can be near 40% loss of the car's value in the first 3 years. Depending on the price of the car, you're paying over $10,000 over the lease's term and then returning that car. If you're rich and spending $10,000 on a car every 3 years is not a problem for you, then that's fine. However, the much smarter option is to buy the same model of that car, but one manufactured a few years ago. Say, instead of leasing a 2012 Mustang, get a 2009, you can buy a 2009 with under 20K to 30K miles for about 15 grand. If you don't have it in cash, just take out a loan for it. It'll be cheaper in monthly payments and the cost of ownership will be much less. Story 5. Bartender School, or Mixology College. A few reasons. Almost all of them offer you job placement after completing the program. Sounds great, right? What that really means is you might work for the owner's catering company whenever they book a party, if they like you and or you're attractive. If you can potentially freelance at parties, go right ahead and take your classes. but almost all of the bartenders I know started as barbacks, then picked up a few day shifts, and finally got 1 or 2 solid weekend shifts. Most chain restaurants have specific pours and specific guidelines for drinks. Think annoying phrases like flavor profile. And it's easier to promote from within or train someone new. Basically, it's harder to break you of your bad habits than it is to just train someone from scratch. Also, coming from managers over the years, a bartending certificate is basically a death sentence on a service industry resume. Real bartending experience counts for so much more. Story 6. Finance person here, investment advisor. While they are useful to place your money, etc., the problem comes with people not knowing how the fee structure affect their wealth in the end. Also, using personal advisor that selects stock, etc. is actually a bad idea. In most cases, because most advisor, even the best one, cannot beat the market. Therefore, investing in index fund is the best thing one can do, and you can find fee package that are extremely low when you do that. Even advisor that appear to have been doing good at certain point don't go as well in the following period. Also, advisor past performance means nothing at all in the grand scheme of things for future performance. Story 7. I work for a company that deals with virtually every credit card in one way, shape, or form, and I will tell you to avoid anything that has a store name in it. Just because you get snazzy rewards with your Home Depot, Sears, Lowe's cards, etc., doesn't mean that it's worth it. In general, these type cards have the highest interest rates and the greatest penalties for being late. Beyond that, they are also typically the fastest to sue your ass off if you are delinquent. If you really must have a credit card, get something from the bank you currently bank with, or just avoid them altogether. They are a headache and one big huge scam. Story 8. Quick lubes such as Jiffy Lube have very questionable business practices. I worked for 3.5 years at 2 major chains. They all lie about service intervals. They have no idea what is the real service interval for your oil change. They just recommend a set interval, usually 3,000, for any car. Most of them recommend totally useless services, like an engine flush or fuel system cleaning. They will tell you, it's recommended that you flush your engine every year, so they can't get in any legal trouble because they don't say the manufacturer recommends it. They hire anybody, so a lot of mistakes happen. If you go to a small franchise shop and they mess up your car, they are not going to pay you for their mistake, and you will have to take it to court, costing a lot of time and money. All that said, quick lubes are convenient and can do extra services like transmission flushes quicker than a dealership. I used to work for one that charged $40 for an oil change, and I think that's worth it for something most people can't do themselves or don't want to crawl around on the garage floor. If you go to a quick lube, here are some tips. Make sure you go to a major chain like Valvoline or Heartland Jiffy Lube because they have good insurance and will pay up when they break your car. When they recommend additional services, don't have them done that day. Write down what they recommend, go home, and see if it squares with what's in your owner's manual. Go by the service intervals in your manual, not the sticker they give you. Know what oil your car requires. If your car has a plastic under tray beneath the engine bay, like an Audi A6, don't use a quick lube. Most techs are not patient and lose the plastic fasteners. If you have a high-end European car, better avoid quick lubes. Do you really want some 20-year-old dropout who thinks he knows all about cars, bro, messing around with your $60,000 BMW with 18-bolt under tray, all proprietary fluids, air filter that takes 20 minutes to check, and electronic oil level monitor? Story 9. Read your bills. If you don't know what a charge is, find out. I used to work retention for a card protection service, so many people calling and saying they'd never authorized it, had never seen it before when they'd had it for years, including one lady who'd had it so long that she had gotten a letter about it about 6 years ago when they changed the rate. Or they hadn't been opening their bills because they were auto-withdrawing minimum payments or on a plan or something, with the payment being about $175 and our charge being about $100, and I could see this on my screen going back a year, so who knows how long they hadn't been making a dent at all. Even people are paying $1 or $10 for the service. If it's something you don't use, it adds up for no reason. Story 10. Some rent-to-own places. I got a rent-to-own a laptop that was supposed to be $600. The guy that sold it to me went over the very basic information. I paid on it for 7 months and called them to see how much I owed. They told me I owed $850. I was like, how the hell? They said it was because I didn't pay the whole thing off in the first 5 months, and they charged me twice the price in interest. I know this is my fault. I should have read the fine print. But they seemed so professional, I didn't really think I had anything to worry about.